it was still really hard to get together with anybody else in practice, if we wanted to have a band or something. So we just kind of naturally came together and were like, hey, we should be a band because I can rehearse with you after the baby goes to bed.
Things hard to play.
Must be a daughter of the Israelite. God's gonna trouble the water. My dad is a country musician, so I grew up listening to guitars, pedal steel guitars, what my dad plays mostly, and country music from the time I was from the time I was born. And I remember going to bed at night. And I would listen to my dad practicing pedal steel downstairs. And so you imagine as a young girl for years and years, just going to sleep with those melodies floating upstairs and kind of working their way. All right, you guys ready? There are moments in the darkness when I feel the world go silent, and I lie awake and listen all alone. And I know our baby's sleeping, I can feel him in my heartbeat, I can hear him in the silence like a song. Softly time I was 15, 16, able to drive, I had a pretty good collection of songs, and I honestly, when I think back to that time, I feel like music and releasing that first record quite literally saved my life. Like, it stopped me from going down a path of self-destruction, and it gave me something to be proud of within myself, something that I did this on my own. Sparkled in every waking hour. Now I feel your warmth beside me as I lay here in this darkness. Wrap myself around those moments and hold on. Softly breathing.
Until very recently, and maybe even in my lifetime, everybody believed that music was poetry and poetry was music. I mean, we all started out chanting around campfires in the Stone Age, and there was no difference. At some point in the course of Ames history, and it's just recently, I think, with people like Jay Perry and Nate Logsdon, the music scene and the poetry scene merged in this town. And so, shows that used to be separate and audiences that used to be separate and performers that used to be separate, we're all just one big family now.
They all say the time is fleeting, dare to blink and now we're 50, and no matter how we fight it marches on. So I hold you in the dark.
We have a lot of talent in Ames. We've always had a lot of talent in Ames. That's never going to change about this town. It's I think part of the culture of a college town is just people get music lessons, people play in bands, people are creative, people learn how to sing. But that talent is really sort of pointless until you build a community around it. Until you build a sort of, there's a family around the open mic at the space. There are groups of people who always come to the same music venues.
Breathing, your heartbeat clock is ticking.
It raises the visibility of music in Ames. It lets people know what's going on in the music culture. It helps build community. We bond at these shows, the performers and the audience and the organizers, we all bond at these shows. And it's also a fundraiser. So without Maximum Ames, I think the year ahead of us would look very different and a little bit bleaker than it does. Right now things are looking pretty good.